Welcome to WorldView, the weekly foreign policy show from Hindustan Times. And we have a very special guest with us today, the Foreign Minister of Estonia, Urmas Reinsalu. And we are going to talk about bilateral relations and cyber issues, which is an area where your country is a leading player. Could we start off by, talking about the possibility of India and Estonia working more closely at the UN Security Council?
First of all, let me tribute all the watchers of WorldView show. It's a very great show. But let me say that we in Estonia are devoted friends and admirers of that modern, energetic passion what India now carries globally. And there is no any political tensions between India and Estonia. We are devoted friends. And let me say that as I met also today with Indian Foreign Minister, we discussed many issues we could cooperate as politically, economically further. And Estonia as a member of political and security alliances as NATO and as the European Union is also interested to enhance further cooperation of India with those alliances. And I think it is very important for Estonian people where we got a lot of courage also in our road to return our independence back from the humanistic view of Mahatma Gandhi. And we are going to erect also in Tallinn a statue of Mahatma Gandhi.
So, going back to the original question, there is a possibility that we are going to be working more closely at the UN Security Council?
Yes, particularly. We are going to have an overlapping year next year. Estonia is from the beginning of this year, and India hopefully is going to be from the beginning of next year for 2 years. And I think there are going to be several similarities. With my Indian colleague, we discovered today one particular issue, and this is modern security threats to the international peace and security, particularly cyber domain. And I think we agreed to have a deep political consultations in the matter of cooperation in Security Council, and I think it would be good we could sponsor some ideas together.
Going forward, the one issue that always comes up whenever Estonia is discussed is your leading role in cyber issues, in data, big data, the way you have kind of introduced digital public services. Where do you think you could cooperate with India now, where India is also looking at things like introducing a smart card for citizens? You already have one.
I think there is also many issues we can in Europe in broader sense learn from India. I think this bravery of pioneering entrepreneurship and vision of benefits of new technologies. This is actually one of the global center points of gravity is coming from India, I do feel, and we see it also from the magnificent numbers of economic rise, particularly in these areas in India, in your country. And also this boom has also reached Estonia. In recent times we have more than 400 investments, joint companies from India in Estonian soil, established particularly startup IT companies. And the one issue we would like to very much cooperate in the state level, but also companies, is a cyber security issues. Either it is a private sector cooperation, but also how to defend a public sector infrastructure, digital infrastructure. And the second element is indeed a cooperation between the businesses. And I think there is in Estonia we are particularly proud because we do have a vast list of public digital services. We are a small unitary country, there's more than 2,700 public digital services there, and we believe we can have basically cost efficiency more than 2% of our GDP because of that. And we would very much to share that experience with as in state, but also in the federal level in India. And secondly, indeed, the center of that digital public services concept is indeed safe and secure identification card, so you can use the services, the full understanding that it is your personality who is making transactions. And I think it's very important is indeed also the psychology, a certain trust to public digital services. In Estonia it basically started with indeed digital banking, and people, when first they believed, they started to trust that if the digital is operated their money, then all the other issues were psychologically a little bit easier.
How important is data privacy? And there's been a lot of debate in India on data localization, that local data will be stored locally. Is that something you've worked on, you have some thoughts to share on?
In a European Union, it has been a grand task, because we are in the European Union we agreed that a precondition of single digital market, so basically as we are having in US, and why do we have so big digital, also social media platforms in US, because they do have a single market, Facebook, etc. And so if we want to see it in Europe, then the precondition of digital single market is to have a unified data protection regulation, and we managed to do it in European Union. There are some issues which member states do address, but the core concept that data of the individual, a physical person, belongs to that person, and other providers have to ask his or her permit, which is possible to take back. This is actually a core concept of European Union data protection regulation.
You had some interesting meetings on the margins of the Raisina Dialogue, especially the meetings with the Afghan NSA and the meeting with the Iranian foreign minister. Could you shed some light on that? What would you discuss on these two?
Well, Estonia is a devoted friend and ally of Afghan peace process. My meeting concentrated to the issues of the peace process in Afghanistan after the outcomes of or declaration of the results of the presidential elections, and we discussed also the regional security issues, including the Iran-Iraq case. And Estonia will continue also as a provider of security, taking part to the NATO security providing mission. I think it is an important added value, and we are going to continue to give development aid also, and also to instruct the police structures of Afghanistan. And I'm happy the security chief of Afghanistan was truly grateful of Estonia for that assistance. And with Iranian foreign minister, we spoke about the tensions in the region. I urged my Iranian colleague to indeed to avoid destabilizing actions in the region, and to look back to the perspective of the events during the last months in the region. We have to admit that Iran has been a certain center of gravity of destabilization, and we discussed also the need to pass independent. I called for independent investigation of the catastrophe of Ukrainian civilian plane, and the admitting of Iran of a rocket which was launched towards that plane. And we discussed also I addressed also an issue of importance of continuing issue of nuclear proliferation.
One final question. India has been expanding its diplomatic presence outside, primarily focusing on Africa, but there has been a long-standing demand that India should open an embassy in your country.
I think it is wise to do it towards Africa. Africa is evidently a rising continent, and I think also Africa, as we have also looking perspectively, there have been many problems in African continent, security issues which needs to be dealt on the level of global international community. But Africa, many places, Africa can't be taken as a single entity. There are many African countries, and there are also very promising countries of good business relations, and demographically, economically, Africa is a rising global star. There's no doubt about that. But so is Estonia. I would very much encourage also India. Would be most pleased to see also a permanent embassy situated in Tallinn. As I said, there is no skies between our bilateral relations, but as we stated also with my Indian colleague, there is much space to be of improvement, particularly in the field of economics.
Mr. Minister, it was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.